So, Assalamu alaikum, Molweni. Good evening, attendees. My name is Tokir Ahmed, and this is the SAICE Knowledge Trailblazer Fireside Chat in collaboration with the SAICE Academy. Thank you for connecting with us today. And again, welcome back to another year of the Fireside Chat. We are running in our second year, and hopefully that this year will make it an awesome year, a thought-provoking year for you, and a lot of content coming this way. So why do we have these chats? Again, it's just to stimulate debate and have a discussion on, civil engineering, looking at innovation, smart technologies, matters of, mutual importance to us as civil engineers. It's not only limited to civil engineers. We do invite, a wide range of, other professions. So we're looking at collaboration because it's a wide field out there, and you need to collaborate with others as well. So we host these events, on the second Thursday of every month. So going ahead, do expect on second Thursday of every month for this year until November to have these sessions. And again, it's what we'll have is we'll have a topic to discuss, a speaker to present, and a technical panel to have a discussion. Then we encourage you as an audience to then participate and drop your questions, your comments in the chat. If there's anything that you want us to cover in the future, please also then drop it in the chat. We will be sharing an assessment questionnaire. You also have an opportunity there not only to rate us, but to also then indicate what you would like to see in the future as well. So today we're going to talk about mentoring. Mentorship plays a crucial role in shaping the next generation of young professionals, or any professional. I mean, you don't have to be young. I mean, even myself, still in need of mentoring. And there's a lot that we can still learn. So, in the ever-evolving world of civil engineering, where technical expertise meets, complex project management, you've got ethical responsibility. Mentorship isn't just a nice to have; it becomes very essential. It's a bridge that connects the classroom knowledge with real-world application, and it's a compass that guides, career paths through a landscape of specialization and regulation. So it's a support system that we need to help us navigate, the challenges of our profession. So mentorship, simply put, is critical for the development of professional, confident, and ethical professionals. And that's why I want to, explore this field today. And we have a fantastic panel on board, seasoned mentors, professional mentors. They'll take us through the obviously, the ins and outs of mentorship. And more importantly, we do have, young professionals on board that will then guide us on, or give us their, the experience that they have, the experience in being mentored. Apologies, I see my screen has gone off here. Am I still audible? Okay, I see I'm still online. Okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
No, thanks. Yeah, my network dipped a bit here, but okay. So again, I see my co-host has come on online. So today's session is going to be co-hosted by my close colleague Alison Lawless. She's a professional engineer, structural engineer, professional mentor, former president of SAICE. And then she will then, co-host and then run the show from here on. So, Alison, let me hand over to you, and then I'll take over once we are done. Thanks.
Thanks a million, Takir. Great to see so many people here. Wonderful. I do suspect, as Takir has said, that it's not all mentors, it's also candidates. So we hope to be able to share a message for both groups today. And the lessons learned from both sides. Just to set the scene, is that we're not in show mode yet? Is nearly there? Or tell me when we're there, please.
I'll let you know. Okay, you're running. You may go.
You got it. Okay, just to set the scene, we're talking about registration with ICSA, and I think all of you know that we need to achieve the 11 outcomes. That goes without saying. But what are they really all about? Of course, problem solving. And there's always a question about what problem solving means and the bottlenecks to achieving those outcomes. Managing, worrying about impact, making decisions, and of course, lifelong learning. So that's really the guide as to how you plan your career. And if you're able to do it on your own, well and good. But if not, these are the kind of things we need our mentors to help us with. When are we ready for registration? We need a variety of work to be able to get there. It needs to be sufficiently complex for our grade of registration, category of registration. We need to be taking responsibility at the performing level, level E, and of course we need to achieve all 11 outcomes. Seems very simple. It's only 4 little goodies here, really. But how do we get there? Of course, you cannot get there without having experience in the workplace. So yes, if you're struggling, there are the SAICE and the SAICE opportunities to place your CV looking for work. And those of you who already have work, but you are struggling with what you should be doing, there are also the opportunities to request mentoring support. But essentially, without workplace experience, you're not going to get there. So how does it work? We need real experience. You saw in the outcomes, how do we solve the problems? How do we manage? So we need workplace experience. What else do we need in the workplace? A supervisor. That's somebody who's going to assign the work to you, your line manager. We think we need a mentor. EXA recommends a mentor as good practice, but let's see what the different roles are. So that supervisor assigns work to you, coaches and trains you, whereas the mentor is looking at your overall training and experience. The supervisor is focusing on this task. He or she has given you something to do. Are you managing to do it? The mentor, on the other hand, is looking at progress. The supervisor is short-term. There's a jolly old deadline on this project. We've got to get it finished. We've got to get this right here and now, whereas the mentor is looking at the long term. Where are we going? Are we getting there? To get this finished, to get it right, the supervisor is giving you explicit feedback, whereas the mentor is kind of questioning you and making you think. So the supervisor is showing you how and where, here and now, whereas the mentor is helping you work out basically where you're going. One is about skills, these developmental skills, all the things you need to do your job. Whereas the mentor is the developmental capabilities, growing you as a person, confidence, leadership, how to handle ethical challenges, how to be firm, all those kind of things. So this is very much workplace development with the supervisor, whereas your mentor, it's about career development. If you're in the fortunate situation where you have a supervisor who's actually really doing all that coaching, helping you with the tasks, helping you develop all those skills and giving you progressively complex work, you're probably okay without having a mentor. So we don't always have to say, I can never get registered, I don't have a mentor. This is what's required, the outcomes, the complexity, the responsibility. If you're getting good input on an ongoing basis, you'll be doing fine. The problem comes where your supervisor maybe is not a qualified person, is actually a non-technical person. So you're actually guessing. You're probably Googling and guessing as to what you need to do. Or your supervisors are far too busy. Or your organization doesn't realize that you need the range of experience. And that then is when you need a person like the mentor who's going to look at where you are, help you plan forward, work with your company to take you forward. And that's all I'm going to say, because for the rest of the session, we have 4 different people. The first one, somebody who is a passionate mentor and has mentored in the public sector, picked up people along the way who've been struggling and been really successful. I'm talking about Peter Kutsia. who started off, I'm going to stop sharing while Peter starts. Peter, you can start your presentation. Thank you. Peter Coetzee started his career as a baby technician in Roodepoort municipality many, many years ago. And he tells me how he used to be sent out at night to go and put his ear to the ground to listen for water. He was looking for night flows, water losses, and so on and so forth, water demand management. He grew and grew and grew. Thanks, Peter. You're nearly ready. I'll just finish off. And eventually became very senior in Johannesburg. He even set up some of the utilities. You walk around Joburg even today, everybody knows Peter Coetzee. But when he retired, he said, no, he wants to mentor. And in SAICE PDP turned 20 this in 2024, and we had a 20-year bash. And Peter won the prize as the best mentor. He just, when he mentors candidates, he loves it. He puts all his energy into it, and they're generally successful. But he has worked out that it's quite a long process. There's a lot of soft skills involved, a lot of getting to know each other. And I'm going to get him to share his 8 steps. So mentors, listen, hard work ahead, but you'll be successful if you follow Peter's 8 steps. Candidates, mentoring is not a silver bullet. You need to work with your mentors. You need to put the effort in, and then you'll get to where Peter gets to or has achieved with most of his mentors. I'll leave it to Peter. Over to you, Peter.
Hi, Peter, you're just on mute. Peter's still on mute. I don't know if it's probably the same.
Tom, can you unmute Peter, perhaps?
No, he's got to do it himself. There isn't an unmute somebody button, unfortunately.
Oh dear. Peter, try unmute.
Peter, I think just try that. I don't want to move you back to non-presenter. Just see if you can log out and log in, and we'll get you going straight away. It's frustrating, but sometimes I think Microsoft and Bill Gates have made our lives difficult intentionally here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, while we wait for Peter, I'll start talking about our next presenter, because I know time is very tight and we want to have lots of time for questions. The next presenter is Andrew, who is also a PRN and a senior mentor at SANRAL's Centre of Excellence. And this is something that was set up by SANRAL 10 or 12 years ago as a small project to start developing candidates on real projects. And you'll be impressed to see how it has grown and grown and grown. So Peter and Andrew are coming from completely different directions. Peter handling those candidates who've struggled in the public sector and who he's helped direct, whereas Andrew has been able to build up a structured arrangement in the public sector. So those of you listening in from the public sector, please can you also look at how you set up something structured and grow it using your own work in the public sector, but of course mentors who assist candidates in the public sector who've sort of limped along for years. Peter has the answers, so hang in there while he gets himself
It looks like he's unmuted now. Peter, can you just do it?
Yes, I'm unmuted.
There we go. Now we just need to see your pictures.
I'll share again.
Yes, please.
I'll share again.
Hey, we don't see anything yet.
Should be there.
It's coming. It's coming. There we go. Go back to slide 1.
It did to go into presentation mode.
Okay, I'm in.
Yep,
Looks like
perfect.
everything's all right.
Yeah, go
Perfect.
back one.
Go back one.
Yeah, you're missing your first slide. There we go. Good.
Okay. All right. First slide. Can I go?
Sure.
Right. Now, hopefully you can hear me this time. It took me many years and dealing with many different people in public service, some in province, some in government departments, mostly in municipalities, to try and figure out how to mentor. I didn't go into the job knowing what to do. So I slowly taught myself how to do it, and it appears by the number of people that I've managed to get registered is that the system I was using was working. So what were the steps I took? So let's just look at a couple of assumptions that I had to use when I started looking at this. So you must remember that in my experience, most of the people that I met, even those that had been in the job for a number of years, the position that they held was a job. It was a means to an end. They went into work every day, and they had like a set list of tasks that they had to do in a day. There were no mentors around, so how did they find out what to do? They looked at their peers and said, guys, I'm new on this job, tell me what I should be doing. So the peers in those positions who were also certainly not performing at the level they should be, showed them what to do and which lists to fill in and which boxes to tick and so on. So this spreads a very awkward, incompetent set of goals that the candidates were expected to meet. The other problem being is that all the HR departments usually have a budget, and they go through supply chain, and they come up with a couple of courses that are not that much useful to people wanting to register professionally as engineers. They will send you on project management courses and aids in the workplace and things like that. It's very difficult to in most municipalities and the public sector to get people sent on courses that are going to be useful to them. The other thing was to realize that they come from a very different background to what we as engineers who studies in the 60s and 70s and then registered. A lot of them did not find an easy path to get registered. A lot of them battled. So the fact that they have their diploma or their degree to them is almost the ultimate hurdle, and everybody, the family's proud of them, they're proud of themselves, and they now have a job, and they don't see it as a career at this stage. So the first step that I found is that I had to listen. What path had the graduate walked? Where did they come from? Had they had difficulty studying? Where are they now? Are they running a household? Are there many people in the household? Once you find this out, you start understanding the amount of time a person has when they get home to do the tasks and write the reports that you're expecting of them. So it's important to find out where they are. It's also important to maintain that candidate mentor boundary. It's easy to slip into a position where you become very good friends, and once you become friends, then there are expectations that you don't actually want to deal with. And you also need to be there to set the boundaries and make sure that a certain level of work is being done. So at this stage, you're at the peak of your career. You're strong. You're the one that's got to give, and you've got to give and give and give. So first step is listening and trying to build up trust with the person that you're mentoring. Step two is understanding. The graduate at that stage, I found, had no individual worth or value in the world around them. They saw their job as a job. They had certain forms to fill in and reports to write, and then they went home. They had no concept of the fact that they were supervising the erection of a column on a job, that this was going to eventually hold up a huge building, and that many people's lives would be depending on the fact that that column was correctly built, and all the standards were being met with it. They also, and I thought this was over, but I spoke to a couple of my younger colleagues recently now just to check. But it sounds like corruption is still there. And this corruption can be very intimidating to people, because it stops them trying to take decisions and actually become independent and professional in themselves. So they have to start realizing the importance of their position. And if they're looking after a site, that they are the people responsible to the city manager and to the public eventually, that whatever they're supervising is done correctly. So you need to start building up that interest in their work and taking personal responsibility. There's also in the public sector a lot of perceived constraints and limitations. Everything is done in meetings. Letters go around telling you what you can do and you can't do. But at the end of the day, if you want to be a professional, professional works as a professional to the standards of their profession. And you need to be able to pass that concept over, that when you're checking something, you're not checking it to make sure your list is filled in. You're checking it to make sure that all the engineering constraints and requirements have been met. And you need to find out what these constraints and limitations are, the perceived ones, because you've got to break through those. As I mentioned, they're usually not aware of the value add that they are providing. The fact that they are an important wheel in the larger cog. And you need to assist them with the idea and the concept of problem solving using engineering judgment. They all have been qualified. They forget that they're qualified. They forget that they can use the information that they've got. And you have to put everything into context for them. And they really, at that stage, they will start getting more interested in the work that you're doing and more interested in you. So that would be the next step, step 3. Step 4 was you've now building up a better relationship. You might not have full trust yet, but certainly there will be interest. And this is the stage of guiding and development, is where you can start introducing tools. So you might have sown the seed of the idea that people are professionals. They want to register as professionals, so they've got to start showing that they can be professionals. And this is the point where you start introducing all the regulations and the standards, and start teaching them things like how to do a risk management matrix, and take them through the construction regulations, for instance. Go through it with them, point by point, clause by clause. That is how they can start realizing the tools that tell them what they can do rather than what they can't do. So we're now starting to move ahead, and interest is growing. In engaging, this is at this stage, you're usually on quite a good relationship with your person, and so there's a trust that's starting, and interest will be starting to grow. And this is where you have to try and realize that all these municipalities, government departments, all have a committee mentality. No one wants to take a decision for anything. But if you're a professional, you use engineering knowledge and in engineering experience to take decisions. And you need to move yourself outside of that committee mentality and start saying, I have, as an individual, feel that this should be done in a different way, and this is how I feel you need to be doing it. So at this stage, there's still not a deep knowledge of risk and contractual responsibility. So, and also delegation is weak. But at this stage, once you start sharing this sort of relationship with your candidate, trust will grow. They'll get more and more interested, and they'll start realizing that they can be, they can make a personal difference, both in the job they're doing as well as into towards the final finishing off of the project that they're doing. At this stage, you should have been with them for possibly a couple of months now. You probably have a good trust relationship with them. But what's more interesting, if you've been able to sow the seeds that I've been talking about the difference that an individual makes and the difference that an individual professional makes, you can now start getting them to take more and more control of their work. So the graduate is responding by wanting to do more things there on their own. Mostly it's going to be with your help, because they're still not going to be fully confident, but their confidence has grown. And I found one of the ways to get the graduates to understand the work that they're doing, if they're doing project management, is take the consultant's drawing and go through it with them and do some first principle designs and check some of the consultant's designs. And don't be surprised if you find that the consultant has actually made mistakes there. So what you're trying to show them is, if they say, look, I don't think I can do this, is to say, well, who said you couldn't? And 9 times out of 10, nobody said that they couldn't, and they're now starting to grow in confidence and take pride in their work. And they're starting to move slowly towards completing their engineering reports and so on. Encouraging at this stage, you've done a lot of good work. You've got people working as individuals, as professional individuals, starting using their engineering knowledge. They're starting to take decisions, and they understand their contribution both to the community and to the company or to the municipality. And their supervisors are probably realizing as well that there's an enhanced management, and that there's a better leadership taking place, because as soon as you start showing that you're a strong individual who's willing to take professional decisions without being asked to or physically moved to doing it, someone will realize that you have good leadership qualities. So this is a time as well where candidates will start saying, but you know, this way that I'm doing this, is this right? is this correct? And this is your opportunity then to assist them to improve things themselves. So at this stage, your relationship has become very firm. There's a good trust relationship, and your candidate will be at this stage very enthusiastic and very, very proud of their work. At the end, when you're moving towards the end of your time with a graduate, they have learned now to use their engineering judgment, to lean on their knowledge and what they've learned from you and from other people on site, and ensuring that and you have to ensure that the complexity of the work is increasing as you go. I think the most important thing that you'll notice is that people become proud of the work that they're doing. They can see themselves developing head and shoulders above their peers, and they're actually at the point where they're starting to mentor their peers, and there's a mutual exchange of ideas and sort of help in helping each other in the workplace. And what's lovely to do is to see them starting to mentor their colleagues and their peers. Right. So at this stage, you're ready to get them to finish off their engineering reports, and they are now ready for registration. And you're actually having to hold them back now from wanting to do work that might even be outside their scope. So those were the 8 steps that I used to follow. They were very successful. They were hard work. It's not something that you can do in a hurry, but it's one way of showing that a kitty cat can become a lion. So one of the things I mentioned going along is that going out on site visits with your candidates is one of the best ways of getting them to truly understand what's going on around them. They might not have ever stepped foot inside a pump station that they're helping design. So you take them into it, or they might be trying to solve a problem in a pump station. Go with them into the pump station, make sure that they know what every single pipe in that pump station is doing, what the valves are for, and if there's any odd pipe work around, work with them to find out what the purpose of that pipe work was. It's a good way of getting them enthusiastic. When they walk into a pump station, they must feel at home and know what everything is around them. And the same with a normal site situation. Go out on site, look at the plans, go through the plans, because sometimes it's very hard to envisage what you're trying to build at the end of the day, when you just have holes in the ground and piles of material lying around. And going through the drawings with them and walking around and kicking up dust and banging on walls to see if they've been built properly is how you do it. And that I found was what was successful for me. So just briefly again, you start off by listening and getting to know the graduate, understanding their situation so that you understand what the roles and responsibilities are, and that they know what the responsibilities are. Putting things in context, using engineering judgment and tackling problems, show them how to do it. Guiding and developing, expand their horizons, show them all the different standards and reference works they can use, engage and help them with decision making in practical situations, again by going out on site and saying, there's a trench, what do you see in that trench, what can you tell me about it? And most important, empowering, is showing them that they actually have the engineering authority to do the work that they're supposed to do, and that they should be able to, at that stage, start taking in good engineering decisions. keeping your eye, of course, on the level of complexity. And then finally, just encouraging them to take control of their jobs and their profession and the work that they're doing, and how important it is, because they are important. A graduate out on site is the only person looking after that particular project for the supervisor and for the whole municipality and the people that are going to use that particular service. And at that stage, you can release them as a fully delegated to do their work, and they can continue to register and take pride in the work that they're doing. So that is the famous 8 steps that Alison has been talking to you about. Thank you.
Fantastic, Peter. If we were in an audience now, we'd all stand up and give you a standing ovation. Can everybody send claps, please? Isn't it wonderful? You stop sharing now? Peter put so much effort into his candidates, and as William proudly said, I'm one of those, and there are lots of them. Thank you so much, Peter. Andrew, would you start getting your sharing going, please? Thank you. Now Andrew's from the other extreme, where there's structure in the system, and he's going to share with you how they've built an academy, and hopefully many of you can follow.
While Andrew comes in, I just want to let the audience know, because I see there's a hand up. So you can just hold on to the hands until the end. We'll then open up Q&A later on. You can keep your hand up if you want. There's no problem in that. Thanks. Thanks, Andrew, over to you.
Thank you. Is the cover slide visible? First slide.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm the senior mentor at SANRAL's Technical Excellence Academy, and I've got about 12 slides just to quickly run through how it works here, and a bit of history and a bit of numbers at the end. If I can get to the next slide. Oh, origins. Okay, so yeah, we've been going for a dozen years plus. At that stage, internally, one semi-retired engineer, one low-volume national route in the design center, 5 or so candidate engineers, and a couple of part-time mentors from the private sector, of which I was lucky to be one, and candidates on major road and bridge work upgrade sites across the country. These days, we've got, at any one time, these are approximate, they keep changing because of the dynamic nature of moving engineers around. Got about 10 consulting engineering office secondments on the go, normally for specialized work that we can't offer in-house, design-wise. We are 3 full-time mentors and 8 part-time specialists who come in on a part-time basis. We've got a design center. Those are some of the routes national routes that we are busy designing the upgrading of at the moment. That also, in a year's time, will look very different. We obviously take our work in-house, which is a huge advantage, to be able to walk down the corridor and speak to project engineers and ask them what's on the horizon. So it's a very important dynamic in the academy. At any one time, we've got 60 candidate engineers. They're all ex-bursary holders, mostly candidate eng. We got about 10 plus candidate tech eng, and we've got 2 candidate technicians at the moment, I think. We've got about 15 CapEx. It's as a big upgrade construction sites, including the SIP2, the famous projects between Pietermaritzburg and Durban, and then between, I suppose, as far south as Port Edward and up to just south of King Shaka Airport. So those are obviously very useful construction training grounds for our grads at the moment, and it will continue to be so for the next couple of years. But there's more that we do within SANRAL. We provide assistance in the region. Our region happens to be the southern region, which is the whole of the Eastern Cape province. We've got project managers or project engineers, as we call them these days, We help them, especially newer project engineers who come in and are sometimes a little bit overwhelmed with the big systems we've got going. Our network's 26,000 kilometers, so it's asset management, that kind of thing. We help them a little bit with that. We also help them when they get consulting engineers' designs and there's reviews to be done. And there's a very good, lively relationship between us and them on a daily basis, where they pop in. We have, let's call it informal discussions, and we help where we can. But the bulk of our work is in the design center, that is. Those are the 15 odd bodies that are in the building, or in-house concept designs. So these typically involve desktop investigations. We do geometric assessments. We look at access management. We look at all the facets of road engineering, so that we can understand what kind of a project lies ahead. Field investigations, we normally spend about a week out in the field with a handful of graduates. We look at things like access management. We look at all the drainage, spend quite a bit of time. We do pavement visual assessments, and then we come back and we work out how we're going to end up with a concept design report that we can hand over to the project engineer, who can use it while reviewing the design development through consulting engineers. So in the office, we got 30 workstations. We got software. We've got support. We've got plotters and scanners. We got drawing tables, and we are open plan for the grads and semi-open plan for ourselves. So there's a picture I took yesterday. We've got 2 CAD operators in the distance there underneath the clock. And the rest of these folks are candidate engineers, and there's a part-time supervisor there who's in half days, who essentially helps get candidates out the starting blocks. This is our drawing office. So we've got an in-out board, so we know where everyone is at any one time. We've got 2 big plotters in the background, and drawing tables. Road engineers love long drawing tables for obvious reasons. And we got a hanger with a lot of drawings. This is actually quite important, where we can see the history of revisions. It's a nice record to have. We've got these 2 really nice large format scanners and plotters. And we got this poster that shows where everyone is. So at any one time, people are either in construction, design, secondment, or in the regional office once they move out of the 5-year program. So yeah, just some notable things. Attracting mentors to the Eastern Cape. I quite enjoy it, yeah. So do my colleagues. Eastern Cape sometimes is a foreign place to folks. So when we recruit, it's not easy to get folks to say, yeah, let's upend and go to PE. An advantage, of course, is that we're interfacing with the engineering, let's call it cluster within SANRAL, although we fall under the skills development unit, which goes from high school all the way through to postgraduate level in terms of offering support. One thing we've battled a little bit with is convincing everyone that we don't run a curriculum. These are real projects, and that's fantastic. Simulation, I can imagine being a young person given a job to design that's already been designed. I don't think that would be too exciting. The policy, how you move young folks around, has been quite a challenge, because the world of construction and design is not always familiar to HR departments and such. So we're constantly in discussions about how we make policies right. Being in government, obviously, we're a little bit more let's call it process heavy than the private sector. And then post-registration. So the natural progression, or let's say the paradigm, is once you've been in our 5-year program, you become a project manager. And what we've seen is some of the graduates go straight into that and they flourish, they do well, but some would prefer to stay in engineering. So we've got to manage that process as well within the skills development unit. Yeah, some interesting reading. I found these to be pretty useful to read and keep up to date with. Competency standards, the discipline-specific training guide that all graduates know about, training and mentoring guide, but there's a couple more documents, but it's important that one remains up to date with these. Visit the ICSA website. These, I think, are the latest dates. It's good revision to remain current on. Okay, road to registration. So 55% of the KPI, obviously we run performance management here and key performance indicators. So what we do is twice a year we have proper engagement, as in probably a man day's worth with each and every candidate, doing an assessment as to where they are on each outcome. And then there's a year-end appraisal. At the same time, we set goals for the ensuing year. And what we try and do is include the supervisor in the discussion, of course, so that the supervisor can verify that, yes, indeed, this candidate was at a degree of responsibility D or C or E or whatever. And we've got a fairly well evolved, generally Excel-based system. So if I can just run through this one quickly. This is what a new graduate will get, and they'll fill it in. So we've divided it up into groups A to E that most of you are familiar with. So there's outcomes 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then the 40% of the score, in other words, what goes through to HR to see whether the folks are performing or not, is the record keeping. Because what we found is we're not all into admin. And we've got to make sure that we deliver PR engines and PR tech engines. So if the paperwork's not together and you come to year 4 or 5, you're going to struggle to put it together. So we monitor that all the time. There's just a bit of a zoom in on the system we've sorted out. So you put your name and details in. This right-hand, these 4 blocks on the right-hand side, those are generally the phases of the graduates. And we've also got a training laboratory down the road. So if they normally spend about 2 or 3 months there. There's a very short induction phase of a couple of weeks, construction monitoring, and then planning, investigation, design. So you plug in how many months of your financial year you're going to be in these phases. And then you set yourself targets and you have a discussion with your mentor as to how these targets are going to be set. And the enabling factor pretty much is you're either on site or you're in the lab or you are part of a design team on a project, but you describe it a bit better and we encourage them to be very, let's call it vocal, descriptive, wordy about these things. It's very important that one knows how to write things in the right style as well. And what we've got here are the KPIs, that's 1 to 3 all the way down to 11, and some competency indicators that explain where you need to be or what you're aiming for. So typically the responsibility target will start at A and end up at E, depending on how mature you are in the program. And then the competency is also important. There's exposure, there's knowledge, there's capability. So 2 sides of the same coin almost. And then what happens at the end of the session, there's a weighted score. So this is all Excel-based, very easy to use. Candidates fill it in themselves and present and print them out for older folks who prefer to use pen and paper like myself. Yeah, so this is the structure that we bring to it. The 40% of the KPI score that I mentioned earlier is logbooks, training experience reports, training experience summary, which is also quite important. So to me, that's a mini CV. The engineering report starts in about the 3rd year. They need to start drafting the engineering report at least make a start. And then we have these biannual sessions, which take us the better part of a week every 6 months. Here's an example of a logbook. This is someone who writes a lot. They've explained on a certain project which of the outcomes they ticked. The this candidate believes they've ticked all the outcomes at these levels. Sometimes it's just daily, and sometimes you just addressing one or two outcomes. So to find more often than not, civil engineering, if you're doing anything useful, you're actually ticking quite a few of the boxes in terms of the outcome numbers. Then, so what they do is they present, we give them 15 minutes dead, and they have to then stop because they need to know how to present their whole career to EXA. So there's an opening slide for these sessions we have. They give us an organogram, and then they'll run through each group of outcomes. So there's a good example. This candidate is on one of those big N3 upgrades near Durban. They give the background, they give their contribution, and then they tell us what degree of responsibility they're at. And this is my last slide, which essentially depicts in numbers where we come from. It doesn't go quite back to where we started, but that's January 2014 there. That's the year 2015, etc., 16, 17, 2020. And if I take it through series by series, the orange graph, the orange line is the number of candidates we've had in the system that have registered. So you'll see just at the beginning of 2020, we had 45 that had registered, accumulative. You can see that the gray graph is just the orange graph displaced by a couple of years, because because we know that we put our portfolio together, we submit it to EXA, and then they go through their process. And to date, we are sitting on 42 PR-Eng and PR-Tech Engers. Our throughput to date, I don't know the exact figures, probably about 150 people. We've had candidates from Department of Transport. We've had candidates from both Eastern Cape and KZN that has just spent 2 years here. But at the moment, the program is restricted just to our ex-bursary holders. Ratios. EXA talks about a ratio of 1 in 4 to 1 in 7, depending on the situation. So what you can see with the blue and the yellow is this is what we kind of require. We should be sitting at a dozen people mentoring 65 people if we were to be able to do a really, really good job and become certified by EXA as an academy. Unfortunately, the supply hasn't matched what we've asked for, and the supply is the yellow. So if you look right at the end here, where we're sitting at the moment, we are an equivalent of 5 full-time people. That's 3 full-time plus 8 part-time. So if you take the 8 part-time, you make it the equivalent of, say, 2 full-time. Whereas we should be sitting at about 11 or 12. So it's a battle. It's a bit of a battle in terms of the skills shortage in the country. Often we come across engineers, we come across 72-year-old resident engineers that we think would be good mentors, but you take from Peter, you give to Paul. So it is a problem in our industry that I think we all know about, but we carry on. The more synergies we create, the more structured the program is, the better we think we can make this machine work. So yeah, that's our history. It takes time, it takes money, it takes dedication, it takes effort, and yeah, we're all thankful that SANRAL took this initiative 10, 15 years ago to have an in-house program, and we're also thankful for the consulting engineers who take on our candidates in secondment and on construction sites. I think we've got some very good mutually beneficial relationships going on. And I'll leave it at that. Anyone's welcome to email me anytime. I'll respond within a couple of days. Yeah, that's probably the best way to reach me. So we're happy to assist where we can. Thanks, Alison.
Thank you, Andrew. Isn't it wonderful? We need lots more of those. And of course, we need lots more Peters. So please, if you all put your hands up, those of you keen to mentor, you've learned from Peter now. It's so rewarding, and you've all, the older ones of you, we know you've had wonderful experience in those early years. You've got so much knowledge to share. Please put your hands up. Nice to go and Kuier in the Eastern Cape, but as Andrew says, they've got candidates all the way around the country, so maybe you can help out on the N3 or other places where the candidates are placed as well. Sidoni, are you there? And will you start sharing for us, please? Sidoni, are you there? Is your microphone on? I can't see from where I'm sitting.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Okay, good. All right. Start sharing, please. Let me introduce you. Thank you. Okay, so now you've heard from a mentor who's helped people in an informal situation, and you've heard from a mentor who's running a wonderfully structured program. Now we're going to go to the other side and listen to candidates who have had mentoring experiences. And our first speaker is Sidoni Elepan, who is a traffic and transport specialist. And I guess we'd classify her as a mature candidate. She's one of those who started almost 20 years ago and did a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of the next thing. And then with help, finally realized that her experience was valuable, as Peter was explaining, and that she had a huge role to play, and eventually achieved her dream of becoming registered. So with that, I'll hand over to Sidoni.
Thank you, Alison, and thank you, everybody. Today, I'm so privileged to be here today as an older mentee. I'm not the very young, the youngest, so I can pretty much take you through a journey of what I call a technical metamorphosis. And I like that I'm the last one speaking, because everything that Peter and Andrew's mentioned is so relevant to what I'm about to say. So that's exciting. So I'd like to just thank everybody involved in getting this fire chat together. My presentation is very girly, and there's a reason for this. This is me going through my technical metamorphosis, my little transformation. Today is the first year of my professional registration, exactly today. So I'm actually very privileged to do this. Let's start with my career. I'm going to just touch a bit on my career, where I started. My traffic and transportation career started in 2006. I worked for a group of consultants that was a very exciting team. And literally when I arrived there, there was a little bit of restructuring per se. So I was really thrown in the deep end. I went from, this week doing stick figures to next week doing an analytical work, and the next month I'm doing fee proposals, and it went crazy. So it was very exciting. And I worked there until 2009. By the time I started in 2009, I was already a mother of two, so it was quite busy. Life was quite busy. My personal life had challenges, so I couldn't really think of registration. I just wanted to get into this career, kickstart it, make sure that I get matured, sort of like matured enough to get into the gist of getting registered. So I joined the public sector in 2009. I started at Ekurhuleni municipality. I started there as a junior technician. It didn't feel well, because I was like 30 odd, so I did speed up applications, I did speed up evaluations, and I saw how it's done for the first year, second year, saw how it's done, third year. I said, no, I have to take a stance and be more proactive in what I'm doing. So I started doing more the design aspects, you know, looking for different designs of speed humps, where it's applicable on what classes of roads, designs of the signage, where it should be, how visibility. I've visited 3M voluntarily, drove out to 3M because the guy just left his business card there and said, listen, if you guys ever want people to do your signage, here's my business card. So basically, I just decided, let me just contact this guy and ask him if I can attend, just for him to show me around. So I took a lot of proactive initiatives on my own. I graduated in 2010. That's also personal reasons, things happened. So my graduation was delayed. So one day I went into campus, and I went to knock on my HOD's door, and I said to him, listen, I want to do BTech now. Like immediately after, I think it was a few days after graduation. And he said to me, no way, you can't do BTech now. You've got to obtain some experience. First, you need at least 3 years experience before you can do your BTech. And I believed him. Eventually, I went back to work, shared this with colleagues. When colleagues said to me, no way, you need to change your campus, go to another campus, and maybe you can just you can go to hop onto this now. So I went to UJ, and I registered. The challenges, there were also a different set of challenges there, because if some of you who may know that at UJ, there used to be a program where if you miss a module, you have to wait another 2 years to get the module going again. So it took longer to get there. The other challenges that I had was secondment. I didn't find a way to second because I'm in the public sector. Secondment wasn't really a thing that would excite my manager, because then it would mean that my role would need to some of my work would need to suffer because of the secondment and the experience I want to obtain. So that was also a challenge in terms of, in inverted commas, gaining the experience for the registration. In 2018, I completed my BTech. Then there was another challenge. Okay, I've got my BTech. I can't register because I need to register 3 years. And I realized, okay, fine. Okay, let's look at this registration. It takes 3 years to get registered. I might just start registering for my on the road, get onto the road to registration. So I decided, okay, let's hop. And then, there were different things. There were different stories, people talking about what can and cannot happen. And, I overcame all of those. I'm sorry, then I discovered on my road to registration, I discovered my chrysalis, who's my mentor, Mr. Philip Du Plessis. And slowly he became the person who changed the myths and misconceptions, and he awakened truths about my career, that I view now as a magnificent career, because, when you're in the situation, there's no way out. You feel like you're doing mundane work, and it just doesn't make sense to do the things and not getting registered. And what he did is, like, the first thing he asked me is for my CV. He showed me how my engineering outcomes are portrayed in my CV, my criteria can identify. He actually identified engineering verbs, and it actually showed me how to align my experience with my CV. Things that I really thought that I was irrelevant, he came and showed me what is relevant. So that was really a aha moment for me, like they say. I managed to see what many thought was not, even myself, I thought it was insignificant. So he showed me how to organize my work. The second thing he showed me was to organize my work. He said to me, okay, Sidoni, let me look at your desktop. My desktop was dear makar, a lot of Word messages, Word documents flying around. He showed me how to organize it, and he showed me that, if you organize your work, you'll understand how to get to your. So he showed me how to organize my outlook, my tasks that come in, when you went at the public sector, you have a lot of emails every day. You get emails, people asking you about projects and how far you are with projects. So you're one person working on 2 or 3 or 4 different projects, and everybody wants a piece of you. So he showed me how to draw boundaries, how to also set to customize my calendar to get to my projects in time. And that was really an eye opener for me as well. So based on that, I developed strategies for my growth. I've started to leverage on my curiosity, because I'm naturally a very curious person. I had to shake off my pride. There's sometimes you have a chip on your shoulders, and you want to prove that, this one, you nobody can tell you anything, or you've learned this before and it can't be repeated. Just shake off your pride. Be intentional. Every day you walk into the office, every day you open your laptop, just tell yourself that, this is the outcome I want to achieve today. This is the criteria I want to tick today. And be resolute, be determined. Even there's days where you're not going to feel like doing it, and there's days where you're going to make excuses, but just be determined. Like I said, be curious. What I did in my curiosity, I did research. My type of research was like going on to the internet. If there was a problem that I encountered, I would go onto the internet, Google it, open up, these videos of these universities in India, that are free. You go through it. They're hour long, but sometimes you just break it up. You go to maybe the kitchen, make your coffee, go and listen to it. Other thing I did was I would volunteer. So if consultants come in and they needed help, I would volunteer to help them. So just so that I can see how it's achieved and ways by which it is achieved, because sometimes they do things a little bit different, and we stick to guidelines and so on. So I volunteered a lot. I still do. I read a lot. I mean, I have my manuals open, maybe 2-3 manuals open every day. I mean, if I'm not sure about something, even if I am sure about it, that manual, it always changes. Maybe a little verb changes, or you see something that you haven't seen before. So it's always wise to keep that open. Be open to new ideas and be willing to learn. Like I said, don't procrastinate. Don't doubt yourself. With the bad habits, and when I mean bad habits, like don't go and talk to your colleague for 15 minutes. Use that 15 minutes to read. Go and just change the way you do things. Your outlook. Customize your emails. Put your responses on. Time yourself, write down what you need to do, and don't be scared. Don't be scared. So this is the chrysalis and I, my mentor, Mr. Philip du Plessis. And as you can see here, we starting to laugh about things, this is the confidence, like Peter just said. Now you start getting that trust relationship where you can actually talk about your doubts, your fears, and I'm not talking about at a personal level. I'm talking about the technical challenges that you have, even your challenges at work. Maybe if like Philip used to try and talk to my ops manager, who's a great ops manager. She's wonderful. But the challenges that we had is that I couldn't second, because I am the person that's supposed to run the show there. So he would go and sit with her and say, listen, I need to get this. Is there any ways that we can maybe think of that she can achieve this? So he was really, really putting things together for me and holding me together while I was getting this figured out. And as you can see there, I look very confused. This is the part where he shows me how he shares his documents, the way he shares and stores his documents. He shares it with me, showing me this is how over the years he does things and it works for him, and he does the same thing so that it's not scattered all over the show. It's stored in the same place. So he was wonderful in that respect. Mentee strategies, I can say cooperate. Your ego is not important. Be open to constructive criticism. Respect your mentor's time and patience. Take notes, like I said. Absorb every lesson and motivate yourself. Every day you get up, be intentional. This is the part where I want to spend. I know I've gone over my time limit now, Alison, but I just want to spend a little bit, 2 minutes on this. A vote of thanks. First of all, I'd just like to thank God Almighty for this opportunity, and it's an amazing experience. I'd like to thank the JRA because they have actually made sure that I obtain this registration with all their support and financial support. And my ops manager was a great person. She never ever stopped me from doing things. She always made sure that I have what I needed to get things done. And SAICE PDP, great team. Alison, great team. Alison is a wonderful person on her own, but I just want to talk about her team. Matabo, Mokwena, very supportive team. Pati is excellent in helping with those engineering verbs. Zan as well, everybody's just supportive. Sometimes they will just email you when you're late for a meeting or you're in another meeting, you double booked, and they like make a plan for you to go to be. So they've been great, I must say. And then again, my mentor, Mr. Philip Du Plessis, he was excellent as well. And also like to thank ICSA. Like Andrew said, all those guidelines on ICSA was so useful. Actually, the competency standards, every time I wrote about my outcomes, I would just go and check on these competency standards and see if I'm still on track. So that website is very useful. Also SARF was also very helpful. Sabul Ngumbeni, Jabu Zanti, and also Liesel. Yes, Liesel. I didn't even write Liesel's name, but I'd like to mention her. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sidoni. It was so interesting watching Sidoni emphasize over the period. It was really rewarding, and we were so excited when she was registered. Our last but very not least at all speaker is Todd. Todd, are you busy getting ready to share? Todd Thomas. We're in through the SANRAL's Technical Excellence Academy, and very proud to have registered through the process. A 6-year journey from when he finished his BNs to doing a master's and then being part of the SANRAL Center of Excellence. Todd, please share with us your experiences for others to learn.
Great. Thanks for that introduction, Alison, and well done to the presenters before me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Todd Thomas, and like Alison has just mentioned, I've recently registered, and today I'm going to take you on a journey as a mentee towards my professional registration. So just an overview, I'll speak on my background and then why professional registration matters to me. What it means being a mentee, the challenges I've faced, and then just some notes to myself that if you feel you also resonates with you, you can take with you, and then a conclusion. So my background, I spent 1 year as an assistant resident engineer on site in Caledon in the Western Cape on a road improvement project. I then spent 2 years at the Technical Excellence Academy in PE, where I did a lot of geometric design, hydraulic assessments, and urban drainage design. I then did a 1-year secondment at Zutari in Cape Town, and then did the rest of the time doing project management at SANRAL's Western region. I then pursued my passion and left SANRAL to pursue water engineering. And then somewhere in between project management and pursuing my passion, I obtained my professional registration. So why does professional registration matter? Firstly, it's an industry standard. It makes you more marketable, especially in the civil engineering industry. It shows your competence and your compliance, and then it also expands your network, specifically if you're active on platforms like LinkedIn, and it also shows some representation. And then eventually, at some point, if you pursue engineering, all paths do lead to professional registration. And this is just, again, not in general, but this is what professional registration means to me. So being a mentee, once I graduated, I had no direction, no insight to the industry, and lots of uncertainty was running through my mind. I was aware of the industry, but not necessarily how it operated. And oftentimes that would make me feel very isolated and everything was overwhelming. For example, if you look at the EXA website, there's just so much information. So I had so many questions like, where do I fit in? Am I PR Eng, PR Tech Eng? Is it like a driver's license, but for work? What is an outcome and why are there 11 of them? And then what are all these documents? So where do I begin? And that's why I'm so grateful for the program, the graduate program that I was on, because that helped solve a lot of my questions. So the program that Andrew spoke about had lots of structure, it had lots of SMART goals, and then also held you accountable through every step of the way. I had quarterly check-ins separate to the biannual, I think, appraisals that Andrew mentioned. And then being in the T, it gave me a lot of opportunities to work towards my strengths. It really helped me, like, basically in the process of being a young candidate engineer. So I got to explore things that maybe other candidate engineers didn't have the opportunity to. So during this time, I faced a lot of challenges. I lacked a lot of motivation. I did a lot of self-comparison, which it really ends up not being the best. I made a lot of sacrifices, especially moving all over the country and not having my support system physically near me, a lot of being uncomfortable, and I struggled to speak up. So this is something that I had to learn. And then I realized that my mentors helped put things into perspective. So all my challenges were put into perspective. So how do you find a good mentor? And these are just, again, subjective to me. I would like a mentor that is inspiring, someone who I can learn from, someone who has a similar background or experience to myself. So that can be in terms of locality, in terms of industry, and then someone who walks with me. And that's obviously in a metaphorical sense of someone who's with you on your journey. And then someone who doesn't judge you, especially when you're making mistakes and when you're new, not too harsh on you. And then someone who is honest and has a lot of empathy, specifically linking to the background experience note. And then someone who works with your strengths and not against them. So these are just some notes to myself that I wish I had given myself 5 years ago with regards to mentorship. Is that I'm not limited to one mentor. I can have as many as I want. And that mentors don't solve your problems, they guide you. And this is very important because oftentimes I'd expect my mentor to give me the solution, but that's not necessarily the case. They're just there to offer you the advice and the direction. And then a good mentor doesn't define your path, but instead, like I said, they walk with you along your path. And then just in terms of accountability, that you are responsible for your own progress. So, I mean, it's easy to get defensive when something is your fault, but again, the mentor is there to help you, but not solve your problems. And then something I wish I knew was that unasked questions create gaps in your knowledge. And I just wish, I mean, I do ask a lot of questions now, but back then it would have been helpful to ask questions just with regards to anything in life or specific to the current engineering challenge at hand. And then just to engage, if you are in a room full of professionals, just to say hello, that is enough. And that will get you places. It's worked for me. And then just to like sort of ground ourselves, the end goal for everything in the civil engineering industry is to improve the lives of all South Africans. And that's something I think I tend to forget about when I get stuck in a technical problem, that the end goal is to work for South Africa. So in conclusion, I would say having a mentor is always beneficial. I mean, there are some people that I know that haven't had one and did the journey alone, which is good for them, but I have seen the adversities of that. And then it's good to know your professional goals, specifically at the start of your career. It doesn't have to be defined, it just has to be smart. And then your qualification, whether it's your BEng or your BTech, I like to see it as this, that it's the door, and then professional registration is the key to the industry. So once you get it, it unlocks a lot more for you, or that's been my case. And then again, just to reiterate that, like, you are really responsible for your own progress in the industry. And then just something that I feel like I really resonate with is that I'll always be a mentee, and I would like to be a mentor at some point, but right now my goal in life is to just stay a mentee and learn from everyone as much as possible. And then just a piece of not advice, but something that I've recently really enjoyed saying to myself is that the only way past it is through it. So what that means to me is that as much as I try to avoid something, the only way to achieve something is to actually go through it and go with it. And that gives me motivation to actually do the thing I need to do. I'm just going to give a special shout out to my mentors that helped me along my path, and that's Andrew, Shail, Thisanda, Krishna, Noktula, and Shuat. Thank you very much. That's me.
Absolutely fantastic, Todd. I love the lessons. Lessons learned. I hope everybody realizes how important they are. It's a team effort, this. And yes, with our fortunate opportunity, all of those here today who the privilege of having engineering degrees does come responsibility. And I love your view that we're here to improve the lives of all South Africans. We do have a role to play, and let's all work together to do that. Thank you, all presenters. You've done a fantastic job. I'm going to hand back to Takir now.
Thanks, Alison.
And let him handle the Q&A session. Takir, all over to you.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you very much, and to the other presenters. And Todd's word, just do it. You need to get through it. And yes, also colleagues, we've shown you now, two mentors. They've showed, what they do to get the mentoring done. A very good example from Sandra in terms of a very structured program. I'm hoping that we can all learn from that and also adopt similar at our organizations. And first-hand experiences from the two mentees, and you can see, it's up to you to put in the effort and get things done. So what we'll do, colleagues, we'll open up for Q&A. If there's any hands, you can put up your hand and we'll take some questions. I know we did schedule this thing for until 1800, but if you don't mind, let's take a couple of questions and just hold on just a little bit longer. And then we'll take it forward from there. Eddie, your hand's been up for quite a while. I think let's allow you to come in if you want to just open up your mic and just ask your question or comment.
Yes, Takir. I wanted to clap for Andrew when he finished his presentation. Sorry, I forgot to put it down.
Okay, so okay. So no comments, questions. Okay, from anyone else online? Any comments, question? If not, I've got one maybe. Just a general question. Perhaps maybe Alison, you can start from your side, and we'll just maybe ask maybe Peter as well. Just common mistakes aspiring mentors would make, and how do we avoid them? I'm sure it's they've been mentioned already, but yeah, just high level common mistakes that you have typically seen within your own field of work as well. Alison, you're on mute.
Sorry, Takir, what was the question? I missed the first bit of it.
Okay, no, just common mistakes that aspiring mentors make.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Peter's the expert to talk at that, but I think aspiring mentors assume that candidates are much further down the road of understanding what's required. And as Peter explained, we have to get the context. They've got to understand this journey ahead. It's not straightforward. And SAICE PDP also runs a mentoring course. And in our manual, as the header, right throughout the book, it says, I don't care what you know until I know that you care.
Yeah.
And you have to start with you've got to build strong relationships before you can get anywhere with your mentors. And I think you saw that in Peter's presentation.
No, definitely. It's all about caring. Peter, just your views, mistakes that aspiring mentors typically make?
Am I online? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. I think, and I'm judging this from complaints about other mentors that the people I was mentoring were making. And I think one of them is the fact that when we go in as a mentor, we've got to realize the background and level of understanding of engineering that the person we're going to mentor is at. We go in with 40 years experience behind us and our degrees and so on. And you sometimes, it frustrates you that these people that you're going to mentor just don't understand what you're about. And it's really that first listening is to just hear where people are at and realize where they're coming from, and don't talk down to people. You know,
important.
You've got to have a mutual respect.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. I'm not giving
it. Okay, no. Thanks for that, Peter. No, definitely. Look, it's communication, mutual respect, understanding. Very, very important things that you need to build that relation when it comes to mentoring, and being an aspiring mentor yourself. There was a hand by Andrew Tenner. I don't know if you want to come in, Andrew. I see your hands down.
Okay. I've been a mentor in a consulting practice, and I've now been a mentor through SAICE and through Wits University Bridge the Gap program. Just a couple of things that probably covered in the course, but firstly, all the discussions between a mentor and a mentee are confidential between the mentor and the mentee, and they don't just get discussed anywhere else. Otherwise, that relationship of trust just breaks down. And the mentor isn't going to open up to the mentee is not going to open up to the mentor if they think that they're going to get called out somewhere else. It's just so important. And in the consulting practice I was in, we had a formal mentoring program, and one of the rules was that the mentee and the mentor had to be in different departments. And then if the mentor was having struggles in their own department, the mentor, who was a more senior person, could go and talk to somebody and say, look, this guy has really got a problem. He hates being in your department. Please let him go. And often they did. So just a little bit of practical experience. Yeah, okay. And now I'm a mentor for somebody that's a PR tech eng who's registered with or registering with SAICE, hopefully successfully. Anyway, we'll see.
They most definitely all the best, and we wish your candidate all the best as well. No, again, confidentiality. I mean, we also need to respect confidentiality. Very, very important, key aspect as well. Okay, I don't know if there's any other hands. Maybe just one question from my side. Andrew, Sanral has set up a very successful program, very structured. I know I got the opportunity to come and visit you as well, and just to see all those posters with the 11 outcomes on the wall, just the way you run it, it's just amazing. Other organizations, if they want to set up anything similar, I mean, what advice would you give them set up something similar to what you have. Maybe you can consult on the side, an idea. But yeah, just some advice, Andrew.
Yeah, I was actually just replying to Vedant about brain drain, skills loss, and all that supervision. So yeah, it's important that we look at supervisors and mentors as almost two sides of the same coin. They have to complement each other. They both have to be in existence. We offer support on the side to Department of Transport, and one of the frequent mistakes, or let's say shortcomings, in the Eastern Cape DOT is we got some good candidates, but then we ask, well, who's your supervisor and are they registered? And often it's a little bit of a muddled answer. But advice is, I don't know, get your mentees to actually read those competency standards, get them to read the training guide. If there's work to be done, and it's complex, let them do it. But yeah, structural issues in departments are a big challenge. But yeah, by all means, give us a call. We can share our systems. I mean, they're Excel based. We can listen to your scenario, and we can give advice as to how it works. We are just very fortunate that SANRAL has thrown money at the problem, and without money, you don't employ people and you don't employ systems and all that kind of thing. And so SANRAL has made this a proper part of what they do.
Yeah. No, and I think, look, a step in the right direction. And especially for state-owned entity, I know the perception out there is that the state-owned entities aren't the place to be. But I mean, this is from the state-owned entity, and then well done on that, Andrew. And then colleagues, invite is there if you want to learn. He's then put out the invite for you to reach out and connect. Alison, your hand is up. You can come through.
Yes. Really, Andrew said we're throwing money at this. We're privileged to throw money. You are more privileged that your company understands you've got to throw engineers at it.
Yeah.
I have seen many public sector mentoring programs fail dismally because they run by HR personnel. I have nothing against HR in terms of managing human resources, but training and running engineering programs must be the domain of engineers. And it's interesting, I'm guessing, Andrew, I won't mention the original companies, but years ago in the big consulting firms, it was the engineers that planned the graduate training. It was the engineers that knew, okay, this person's been in the design office for a couple of years. Let's look at our project list. Who are we going to assign to the ARE job for this job? So and so. So it's the engineers who understand where have we got to in terms of complexity, what range of experience have we had to get them there. And unfortunately, just taking a tick box from an HR point of view, you've done this, you've observed site. It does not add value. So you need to make sure that whichever public sector department you are that say, yes, I'm now going to run a graduate program. I mean, Verena May as another example at Water Affairs is run by technical people.
Yeah.
So you're running a program, it must be run by technical people. HR is support.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, colleagues, we have run over time. I don't want to hold you up too long. There was one request from Michelle Rivarola. If you can come through with you wanted to do a bit of a picture. If you don't mind, just a minute, 2 minutes, then we will wrap up after that.
Sorry, I am a retired consulting engineer. I think Alison knows me reasonably well. I just want to mention to those who are in consulting engineering and want to develop their skills, the consulting engineering South Africa runs a program called the Business of Consulting Engineering Management Development Program. It's structured to provide you with the skills that you don't acquire in your tertiary education. So it's structured around 5 modules, which are project delivery, the consulting engineering environment, project finance, personal development, and the module that I'm responsible for, which is law and the law of contract and construction contracts. Just to give you a bit of background, I took over from Ivor Evans, who those of you who are probably my age will remember as a fairly eminent SAICE fellow. And it's worth your while looking at. It's not only for consulting engineers. We've had a number of public sector persons coming through as well, and it adds, I believe, a lot of value to what you do. If you're involved in the public sector, it also makes you understand why when you believe that a consulting engineer is overcharging you, maybe you need to know how his costs are made up. So yeah, have a look at the SAICE webpage. It's a worthwhile course. It's not in competition with SAICE at all. It's on a different level. Okay.
No, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Much appreciated. So, colleagues, there's that out there. So you've got the CISA program. I understand now SAICE also has a mentoring program. There's also Solelekane that is run through SAICE as well as an option. So I'm sure Uncle Tom, you also then put out those links on the chat. And to the other attendees online, if you have any comments, questions, do drop it in the chat box. So I'll be looking to then wrap up, but thank you very much for attending. So it was a very insightful discussion we had today. Again, I want to thank the panel that we had. Alison, Andrew, Peter, Sidoni, Todd, thank you for sharing your experiences. Much more appreciated. And yeah, just from my side, I was just jotting down some key takeaways. So mentoring and mentorship is all about lifelong learning. Mentoring is not a silver bullet. It's important, that your HR department understands and is aligned with what you need, and it needs to be, a technical person needs to drive that as well. And they need to understand how design and construction works. You need to maintain your professional boundaries, so that a lot of those lessons come from Peter as well. Have a passion and pride for the work that you do. Be proud of what you do and understand that it has big impact, not only to yourself but to the community and to whoever you are developing that infrastructure for. Build a relationship with your mentor. Mentors should then take their mentees by the hand, take them through all aspects of the work, motivate them, support them, nurture them, generate that trust and that interest, and believe in your abilities. So yourself as a mentee, believe in your abilities, put in the effort. It's up to you as well. The hard work, you need to put in the miles. It doesn't come to you on a silver platter, unfortunately. You need to put in the effort. You need to be motivated. As our mentees indicated, there will be down times. You just need to pick up yourself and get moving. Before you know it, you would have achieved your professional registration and gone miles ahead. So again, thank you to everyone. We need to foster this culture of mentorship and get everyone forward and moving in the same direction. So next month, colleagues, we will be running a session with the South African Plastic Pipe Manufacturers Association. They'll give a presentation. So Mr. Mike Smart is planning to give us something on thermoplastics for the civil engineering industry. So keep an eye out for that. We'll send that advert out. And so again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for holding on until this extra few minutes. We hope that you leave today feeling inspired and empowered, and embrace the power of mentorship. And then just to pitch out there for SAICE, if you're not a SAICE member, do join us. We can include some of those links below. And thank you for your participation. And tomorrow's Valentine's. Enjoy the day tomorrow with your loved one. And until we see you next time, you'll keep on learning, keep on exploring. This is the Knowledge Trailblazer. Thank you.